Ciao besties, welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year! I know it's March, but it's my first video of 2024, so Happy New Year! How have you been doing? I have such a fun video for you today. It's obviously gonna be a brand design project, but it's gonna be a little different than usual because for this one, I really want to focus on my favorite aspect of logo design, which is typography and type manipulation especially. You know, I always say type manipulation is my specialty, but since it's a long and tedious process, most times we have to speed through it in the video. So for this project, we are gonna chill, we're gonna take things slow, and we're gonna manipulate some type together, and I'm gonna walk you through my process and give you some tips along the way. I know that type manipulation can be pretty intimidating, and it's something that personally I never thought I would do. I used to see other people do it and think that is never gonna be me, but here we are today, you know? So I kind of want to give back some of this energy to you guys. No brand design project can exist without a creative direction, especially if you're gonna manipulate typography. In this video, I want to show you how easy it can be to add personality to a logo through these edits, but most importantly that you don't always have to add these crazy details in order to convey a message successfully. It can be very subtle as long as it's done with purpose and it's intentional. So you can start small but still achieve a great outcome. So the usual question is, what brand are we designing today? For this video, I decided to pick one of the briefs from the Creative Besties Challenge, my own brief challenge that you can find for free on my website. So if you want to follow along during the video, you can literally download the brief on my website and work on it yourself. The specific brand that I've chosen is one that is so fun, and it's Wello, a vegan caramel chocolate bar. This brief specifically is so fun because we have a lot of information that we can use in our project. We have a brief, we have deliverables, we have a mood board, and we have a questionnaire. The questionnaire was filled out by our client, who is me, obviously. Thanks to the questionnaire, we have a lot of information, not only on the business, but on how it started, why it started, its mission, its values, what it wants to achieve, who is it for, and all of that. So we're gonna take all of this strategy, and we're gonna put it inside the type. Our client wants to create a caramel chocolate bar that is vegan, so that is healthier than what we usually find in the market, and it's a kind of snack that he wants to share with his son. So he wants the product to be universal. The brand has to have some sort of uniqueness and boldness to kind of get to that perfect balance of attracting kids and adults, and it's also vegan, so it has to kind of reflect an organic feeling but not too much. Let's actually see the mood board that the client has created. In the mood board here, we see that the packaging is definitely type-based. The client wants the type to kind of speak for the brand. There are a lot of different examples of how you can implement this choice in the packaging. For the type specifically, since it's what we're going to focus on today, the client requested that maybe we could play with the consistency of caramel, since caramel is one of the main ingredients of the bar and one of the selling points for sure. So in the mood board, he added this example specifically. If you are a brand designer, you have probably seen this a lot, and this is what will happen with real clients too. They are not designers, they don't know what's out there, so they will probably suggest something, an idea that has been done again and again and again. Your job as the designer in charge of the project is to take that idea, take that concept, and reimagine it and make it unique, make it stand out. We are not gonna do something like this because this is the obvious choice, but the idea of using the texture of caramel is very smart, so we are gonna definitely take that. So yeah, this is the idea, but then of course after you do that, you have to kind of create your own mood board to kind of imagine these ideas that the client first had. When I put together this mood board, I was going through a lot of different choices, a lot of different things. I really liked the movement of these shapes in the packaging. I added a few examples of it. And for the type, again, I was having a lot of different ideas for what it could be, but the thing that kind of stuck with me was that concept of the texture of the caramel. You know, when you have a caramel bar, you see that string of caramel, right? And I think that that string, that connection could be something that we can use in our type. You can actually see the specific idea in this example here. You can see that the letters are pretty much their own, but there's this connection that gives it that feeling. And this example too, this is even thinner, but you can definitely get like that idea. So with that in mind, I chose some fonts, and let's jump on Adobe Illustrator and actually start working on this. As you can see, there are a few fonts that I've picked out for this brand, and they look a little bit different, and that's because in the questionnaire, our lovely client explains the origin of the name. So basically the name comes from the word well or wellness. That's obviously tied to the vegan or organic aspect of the brand, but then it also comes from the word hello, and it also comes from the word caramel, wello. I don't know, guys, just go with it. I think that we could add that sort of, I don't know, that feeling of an exclamation to the logo. And the first thing obviously to do that is to pick a really bold font. So out of all these beautiful fonts, the one that I chose was this one called Freytag, because I really love the letter W. I think it's so cool. That curve of the W, it has already a little bit of the string connection that I want to use. So I think this is gonna be perfect. And also all the letters connect with each other. One of the first tips that I can give you when it comes to type manipulation is to choose the right base font, because if you choose something that is too detailed, then it's gonna be harder to create some new manipulations or make the letters consistent. But if you choose a font that is too plain, then you're gonna have to make a lot of manipulations in order to make it stand out, you know? Unless you're planning to do something very transformative, which is not what we're doing today, choose a font that is already in line with the essence of the brand. Okay, so we have this font here. Obviously, as I said, I am in love with this W, but there is one thing about it that doesn't really sit well with me, and it's basically this space that we have between the curve of the W and the E. It kind of interrupts the flow of the logo. What I'm gonna do is, first of all, outline this text so everything is a shape. This is obviously the first thing that you have to do once you're working with type. You have to make it a shape, otherwise our tools are not gonna work. To remove this space that we have between the letters, I'm just gonna take the W and I'm gonna flip it. Now obviously there's another issue, and it's that the W faces the completely different way. So for that, we are gonna use a tool that I absolutely love when it comes to type manipulation, which is the shear tool. And thanks to the shear tool, we are just gonna do this. The W is already like looking so much better. Like, it honestly doesn't even look like it's edited. I've made the W slightly smaller just because it wasn't feeling quite right, but now we are ready to start with our actual type manipulation. So as I said, I wanted to create this connection between the letters. The E and the L's and the O are already connected thanks to the font, and I don't really want to work on that because I think that it works super well. But the only two letters that are not connecting are the W and the E, and so I want to use a curve that is already in the logo, and it's the curve on the W. So I'm just gonna take it, I'm just gonna copy it and remove basically everything that we don't really care about. I'm just gonna change color so you can see what I'm doing. This is a great tip. Of course, we have to make sure that everything is in line, so we are gonna use some guides to help us, you know, make everything cohesive. I usually don't use grids or guides, but in this case we have to. We're gonna just carefully delete what we don't want, so I'm gonna edit this really quickly using the direct selection tool to make sure that we can use the shape builder tool. I'm just gonna click this one and it's gone. So we have made our connection, but of course it is a little bit rough. So what we can do is kind of create a curve. We can actually use the direct selection tool to do this. I was planning on using the pencil tool, but in this case specifically, we don't have to do that. It's even easier. We don't even have to bring out the pencil tool, which is my favorite tool when it comes to type manipulation. We added that feeling of connection with just the simplest of edits. This is another tip that I usually give when it comes to type manipulation. Use what you already have in your font. You don't have to design anything from scratch if you don't want to. You can 100% use what you already have in the letters that are already in the logo or in the entire font. Open the glyphs panel, look at all the letters and see what shape of each letter you can use to create those connections that you want to make. This is honestly how I go about type manipulation every time. It wasn't that complicated, was it? But of course we are not done. This is just, again, the base of what I wanted to do. As I mentioned a while ago, I wanted to add that sense of exclamation inside the logo. If you think about it, it can be difficult. How do you do that? But it's actually very simple. We can use shapes. What is the shape that you think about when you think about a greeting? Hello, an exclamation point. It's like something that goes from small to big, you know? Like something that gets bigger as you go, right? I hope that it makes sense. We've known each other for a while now, so you guys know this is how I explain my incredible ideas. Based on the shape of our type and the movement that I want the type to make, I created this shape here. Of course, I want, again, to keep everything subtle. It's like a slight edit of the type that I want to make to kind of give that idea, but not too much, because we want the type to be universal, we want it to be legible, adaptable. We don't want to transform it too much so that it affects the legibility. So basically what I'm gonna do is, first of all, group everything, and we might as well make it into one shape. And then I'm gonna copy this shape, I'm gonna put it above the type, and then I'm gonna go on object, envelope distort, I think this is what it's called, and then I'm gonna use this option here. I'm gonna put it on the screen in English because I don't know what that is, and just by clicking it, here we are. The type has been morphed into that shape that we have selected. We're gonna use a guide to make sure that the composition is straight. There it is. This is our logo. I absolutely adore it. This is pretty much it for our logo. Like, as I said, I didn't want to do anything crazy, but I wanted to use strategy to give purpose to what we're doing. It conveys everything that the brand wants to convey, but as you saw, the edits were so simple and so easy to make. With this type manipulation, we also have this W, which is so cool. It can be a perfect logo mark, super recognizable. Once you're done with your logo suite, the next step is figuring out the color palette and the type suite. Now for the color palette, as you can see, I've chosen a few like earthy tones, kind of, but still bold. As for the type suite, I've chosen some of the variations of the same font. Speaking of the packaging, we are not actually designing real packaging because for that we would need a die line. I've actually made a few videos about how to design actual packaging if you want to check them out. So we're basically going to use this layout that I created to get the idea of how the bar will look like. Working on a brand identity means creating an actual identity. An identity, it's not just made of the logo suite, the colors, and the type. There's also other assets that we could use to kind of help bring the vision together. And so I was thinking of elements that we could use to enrich our identity. And of course, the symbol that came to my mind was an exclamation point. It could be used as a brand illustration, as like even a logo mark if we want to. I wanted to add a little detail, obviously, to make it even more branded. I brought in the same shape that we used to create our manipulation on the logo. I think that it could be like a nice addition. Just like that, we have our amazing and branded exclamation point. And now we have one more element that we can use in our branding that we have created thanks to the edits in the type. From the type manipulation, you can get so many ideas that you can like apply to the rest of the branding. So I like this idea of the exclamation point, exclamation mark so much that I also wanted to bring it into the packaging. So I took the original shape that we used for the logo and I used it to expand on this idea even more and also add that stringiness of the connection of the letters. Let's take the shape and let's go on effect and distort and transform and pucker and blow. Thanks to this tool, we can just, ooh, now you see what I'm talking about? I love this. I think it's so cool. So now that we have this shape, we can actually use this on the packaging to create some sort of exclamation mark, but not really. Walk with me here, okay? Let me cook. I'm gonna put this here and I'm gonna use the shape of the exclamation mark here, and I'm just gonna rotate it a little bit so that it fits more like the shape that we have created. Thanks to the shape that we are using, we have created a space that we can use to add the information of the product, which is obviously important. And so I've added all the information. As you can see, I used the type that we have chosen for our type suite. Everything works super well together, and I think it looks so cool. So now there's one last thing to add. Our super cute exclamation marks. Have I realized during this video that they're called exclamation marks and not exclamation point? Yes. Are we going to ignore that? Yes, please. I think that now it looks so cute. So I'm basically just gonna create like a mask so we can kind of get an idea of how it's gonna look like. This is it, guys. This is the packaging. I think that it hits all the points that we wanted to hit with this branding. It is type-based, it is fun, it is bold, it has that welcoming feeling. It's fun enough to attract kids, but it's also clean enough to attract adults. But if you go back to the beginning of the video, we really didn't do that much, you know what I mean? Like, we have used what we already had and we use a strategy to create this. This is something that anyone can do, no matter what tool you're using or how much drawing experience you have. I'm using a graphic tablet, I always do, but I know amazing designers who do incredible type manipulation using a mouse or even a trackpad. Okay, I've talked enough. I think that I'm gonna put everything in mockups now, and I'm gonna come back with the finished product. As usual, I put together a presentation to kind of see the whole vision together, which is always my favorite part of these videos. So without further ado, let's meet Wello. Project. I had so much fun working on it. Honestly, you guys know that I love type manipulation, so whenever I get to talk a little bit more about it and my process, I enjoy it so much more. I really wanted to make this video beginner friendly when it comes to type manipulation, to show you that it doesn't have to be that complicated and you can do it if you want to. It just takes a little bit of practice, but most importantly, it takes strategy and purpose, you know? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. And oh my god, if you also have worked on this brief, which again you can by downloading it for free, the briefs on my website, please tag me on Instagram because I do want to see it. I love seeing other people like working on the same brief. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you follow me on Instagram, you might know that this is probably the last video that I'm gonna film in this studio because I'm moving. The next time you're gonna see me, Viviana.graphics is gonna have a new home and I'm so excited about that. This is gonna open like a lot of possibility in terms of content, even here on YouTube. So if you want to stay updated and see what is gonna happen to this channel once I move, subscribe to the channel, follow me on all my social media, you know the drill. Now that I think about it, I've been making YouTube videos in this studio for the past 2 years, and actually, speaking of the topic of today's video, I have made a video all about my favorite tools when it comes to type manipulation. So if you want to learn more, you could definitely check that out here. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you again in another video soon. Ciao.